Fun. Well, start again. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town Board of the Town of Ossining regular meeting for Tuesday, May 24th, 2022. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing for a moment of silence in memory of the tragedy that took place today, where at least 14 children and one adult in Uvalde, Texas, went to school and did not make it home. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Councilmember Feldman,
Present.
Councilmember Meyer,
Present.
Councilmember Manicchio,
Here.
Councilmember Fields Towell,
Here.
Supervisor Levenberg.
Here. Okay, so we're going to start off with some announcements. I mean, just first to acknowledge the tragedy. It is mind-blowing that these tragedies continue to pervade our national culture, and they have to be stopped, and we have to find a better way. And we certainly, at a federal level, we need to have gun safety in order, and we're going to have to continue to call for greater regulations that prevent guns getting into the hands of people who should not have them. And I don't know what else to say. It's just horrific. Can't even imagine. Our hearts go out to everybody in Texas. It's also National Boating Safety Week. I signed a proclamation on Friday declaring May 24th to 27th of this year as National Safe Boating Week in the town of Ossining. We are a Hudson River community with many of our residents who are avid recreational boaters, and it's critically important that we get the word out about how to be safe and have an enjoyable experience while boating, sailing, paddling, and fishing. In 2012, Ossining lost one of our own, Brian Johnson, to a tragic boating accident. And we must each do our part to ensure that boaters receive the training necessary to be safe and save lives. Thank you to Bob Durayo and the Ossining Boat and Canoe Club for bringing this important week to the town's attention. Stay safe out there, boaters. This weekend is Memorial Day, a time for all of us to pause and remember those who have given the ultimate sacrifice in service to our country. This year, Ossining and Briarcliff celebrations will return to in-person parades. Ossinings will step off at 8:30 a.m. at Croton Avenue in Calumet, ending at Nelson Park, where Ossining's local veterans will hold a remembrance ceremony. Briarcliff's parade will take a new route this year, starting at Todd School at 11:45 a.m., following Pleasantville Road to Law Memorial Park for a memorial service there. Westchester County will also be holding a Memorial Day service at Lasden Park in Arboretum in Katona this Friday, May 27th at 12 noon. Please also note that town offices will be closed on Monday, May 30th in observance of Memorial Day.
Supervisor, just a point of clarification, the Ossining parade will step off at 9:30, not 8:30.
9:30. Okay, I did think that sounded a little bit early.
That was a typo.
Okay.
Apologies.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so that's 9:30. Thank you for that. This Saturday, May 28th, Westchester Collaborative Theater will hold Music in the Box with Pete Malinverni and Gary Smolian, the dynamic jazz duo. Doors open at 7 p.m. for the 7:30 show. Tickets are available now at wctheater.org. We have a fifth Tuesday in May, so we will not be back with the town board meeting until June 7th. The first week in June, we will start recognizing two very important commemorations, Juneteenth and Pride Month. We'll start the month of June with the Juneteenth flag raising at Market Square on Thursday, June 2nd at 9 a.m. There will be a countywide Juneteenth kickoff on Wednesday, June 1st from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Renaissance Plaza in White Plains, with the Ossining Juneteenth Council serving as a co-sponsor. Also mark your calendars for Ossining's Juneteenth Festival on June 19th. Yes, it's also Father's Day at Lewis Engle Park. The town is proud to be a co-sponsor of that event, and you will not want to miss it. There will be a pride flag raising in Market Square on Friday, June 3rd at 4 p.m. The Loft LGBTQ plus Community Center will be hosting Westchester Pride on Sunday, June 5th from 11:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. in downtown White Plains on Court Street. Please make sure you're following the Ossining on the town of Ossining on social media and subscribe to our email blast so we can share out more information about Juneteenth and Pride events during our short town board meeting hiatus. Friday, June 3rd is a First Friday, so you know what that means. Ossening's First Friday Community Crawl hosted by NU Builds and the Greater Ossining Chamber of Commerce. Here's hoping for a beautiful June evening to hang out around town and frequent all of our local businesses. That's it for my announcements. And I have an administrative report. Do any of my board colleagues have any other announcements about anything going on around town? No. Okay. So for my administrative report, we've been busy gearing up for the start of the Ossining River Jam, our annual Friday night summer waterfront concert series, recently renamed for the awesome vibe that we believe that it has. It starts Friday, July 1st with the Independence Day fireworks. We're once again partnering with some Ossining greats, Sing Sing Kill Brewery, Mike Risco Music, and the Greater Ossining Chamber of Commerce to bring the community some fantastic evenings of food trucks, craft beer, live music, and most importantly, good times. So block off your Fridays now and stay tuned for the concert lineup to be announced soon and some awesome food trucks and craft breweries. We're still looking for feedback on our shoreline revitalization project, which is part of phase 2 of the Climate Adaptive Design Studio project funded by the New York State DEC. A link to a survey has been shared on our social media channels and in my supervisor's update this week. Please respond before the end of the month. Last week, we powered up a new air source heat pump at Cedar Lane Art Center, which will not only bring efficient heat, but also much needed air conditioning and all energy efficient to the building. We were able to install this thanks to funding from NYSERDA's Clean Energy Communities program. It's a great demonstration project for our community and illustrates how homeowners can reduce their reliance on fossil fuels by installing clean heating and cooling technology. With our colleagues in the New York State Legislature wrapping up the 2022 session next week, I have signed onto a few letters advocating for the passage of critical legislation to incentivize and in some cases require clean heating and cooling and renewable sources of electricity in buildings. These efforts will move us closer to meeting the goals of the CLCPA, which is Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, which was passed by the New York State Legislature and signed into law in 2019. But it is so important that these efforts are financially and legislatively supported by New York State to make the conversion easier for homeowners and local governments. I'm hopeful that our legislators will pull through to advance this legislation before the end of this year's session. We also received a request recently within the last day, I believe, maybe even just today, from Sustainable Westchester for the town to sign on to a letter of comments to the New York State Public Service Commission regarding the structure, rules, data access, and compliance requirements for opt-out community distributed generation, or CDG. Municipalities that participate in the community choice aggregation program, such as we do, were asked to sign on, as we have experience with the value of the CCA program's opt-out model to successfully deliver the benefits of clean energy to our constituents. CCA programs educate, encourage, and empower us to take actions that advance local sustainability goals, consumer protections, and the CLCPA. The letter that we were asked to sign on to offers support for 4 key elements of the proposal: reinforcement of municipal autonomy, always important, the opportunity to hold utilities accountable, support for market innovation and competition, and the focus on consumer choice and equity. Although the letter is generally supportive of the proposal, the overarching concern communicated in the letter that Sustainable Westchester wants us to sign on to is that some of the suggested, or maybe it's really Westchester Power, but it's the same entity essentially, is that some of the suggested policy options for opt-out CDG would actually reduce the benefits to low-income customers and prevent many municipalities from ever participating in opt-out CDG. The letter requests that the Public Service Commission address these issues by providing full incentives for opt-out CDG to ensure service of low-income customers, not impose any cap or block on the amount of opt-out CDG at this time, and remove the requirement that all low-income customers be served within a 12-month period. The work Sustainable Westchester does to advance Westchester Power is so important. I feel it's equally important to support their continued efforts to expand CCA and to make it even more environmentally sustainable. And this letter of support does just that. I know that the board have had a chance to review this today. So unless there are any objections, I'd like to be able to sign on to this letter. Do any of my board colleagues have any objections? Okay, wonderful. So with that, we have 2 departmental reports this evening, and we're going to start out with our fantastic police chief, Chief Kevin Sylvester. Welcome, Chief.
Evening, everybody. So quite a bit going on last couple of months in the police department. Start with some good stuff. We've got most recently a promotion of Pat McGovern from police officer to sergeant. Exciting stuff there. Not something that happens so often in a police department, so promotions are a big deal. He'll remain in support services. He'll still keep flying our drone and doing lots of other good stuff around the building. Hoping to get him out on patrol, but he's doing a fantastic job as our records officer right now. Quite a few events we've held now as we're trying to get things back on track. We're not sure if the pandemic's over or just starting, or we're in the middle, wherever we land. We had Trucks and Treasures last weekend at AMD Middle School, which was not necessarily for the middle school kids, but the venue was there. It's a Touch a Truck event that we did together with the some of the highway department and DPW folks. We had OVAC, we had fire department of vehicles, I think, there, and just a chance to get kids out and connect them with some resources at the school. Last month, we had our drug take back as part of National Drug Take Back Day, and a reminder that the drug take back bin is available 24/7, 365 in our lobby. We've had 2 or 3 different Chess with Chavez events there, which are moving around town, and we're looking forward to getting those back outside now that the weather is nice. Possibility of having them maybe down in the park while concerts are going on and Market Square and stuff like that. It's always been a nice addition to some of those things and an option for people off to the side. Presenting at a number of different conferences over the last couple of months. We've had 4 or 5 different officers push in at Ossining High School, Park School, and Claremont School on presentations to students there, including our UAV unit flying the drone for some of the law enforcement club kids at the high school. We've had Officer Tompkins presenting in SUNY Race and a bunch of other classes there. I presented last week at the John Jay Data Collaborative on some bail reform initiatives and some discussion about that. And Sergeant Costanis and I both attended and presented at the Governor's Traffic Safety Council on some community outreach stuff last month in Syracuse. In terms of training, this month the last couple of months, we've completed departmental first half firearms qualifications. We've completed first aid and CPR. We completed a full evolution of defensive tactics, and now we're getting into TASER recertifications. We also had officers attend procedural justice instructor training classes, which will be something we'll bring back and deploy to the rest of the department now that we have in-house instructors for that. That's a program that focuses on building legitimacy of law enforcement in the community through positive interactions. Officer Anjo associated with the Police Unity Tour, which is a charity event that goes from New York City to Washington, D.C., escorting police officers on bicycles to raise money for the Widows Foundation. And most importantly, our big story for tonight is that we are hoping very soon to sign on with Westchester County Department of Community Mental Health for a mobile crisis response team. This is a program that will bring mental health professionals fully into our police department. The theory for us is that they will actually be embedded in our department. There's a number of different catchment areas around Westchester County. One is in Yonkers, one in Port Chester, one is in Ossining. I don't know where the others are. I believe Peekskill might have one. Our catchment area will cover Ossining, Briarcliff, Mount Pleasant, and Sleepy Hollow. We were really, really vocal. Not only did we participate in the RFP process for this, in developing the RFP and evaluating the RFPs, but also in trying to help community mental health understand how they can get these teams into our departments to work. So starting next week, whether the agreement is signed or not, we'll have mental health workers in our police department doing some ride-alongs and observing and starting to learn our system. Our hope is that they'll spend a very, very long time here and then eventually branch out to the other departments. I think our community is probably the greatest need among those that are in our catchment area. And quite frankly, I think that we do policing better than anybody else does. So we want them here learning the right way to do things. So that's our big project going for right now. Summertime, looking to bring back the block parties. We've got 2 dates on the calendar, but I'm not announcing those yet because we're not really sure if they're going to be able to happen. But God willing, we'll all be healthy and be able to go outdoor and do fun stuff this summer.
Great. So I had somebody shared with me that there was a date in July and a date in August. So I'll just say that right now, those were the dates that I had seen that you guys were looking at. For
Listen,
those.
I'm really excited about it. The July date is really kind of a summer party. The August date is a back to school. I'll tip off that one of the things that we're really going to be pushing for August, we're going to be looking for barbers to come. We want to try and find a way to bring free haircuts to kids before school. So
Nice.
that hopefully will be our big gimmick for that one. We've been trying to do that for a number of years. Dr. Sanchez has been hot on that one. That's really his idea. But yeah, we're looking for a
Right.
summertime one and a back to school one. And if all goes well, we'll be able to do it. I'm just reluctant to make an official announcement because we've been disappointed so many times. So if all goes well, we'll be there.
And can you just talk about the mental health? How would that actually look like from, on a day-to-day basis? Like just how would that, the mobile or whatever the unit, how would that serve Ossining?
So they're called a mobile crisis response team. And years ago, Behavioral Health Center had a crisis response team. They weren't always so effective. The theory here is that rather than having somebody come from the outside, that they'll be here embedded with the police department. I think if we're all being really honest, I don't think anybody really knows exactly what it's going to look like when it gets here. We all have conceptions of what we'd like to see. The idea and the agreement we have right now is that those folks will be working with our police department to sort of evaluate our process and the type of calls we go on. We'll be giving them advice on where we could use them. They'll be giving us advice on where they think they should be pushing in. Most police calls are still going to be primary response by police, but the idea is that they'll be responding right along with us. And when scenes are safe, that they'll be able to come in. I think more important than the response in the moment, because in a dangerous situation or someone armed or barricades and things like that, it's still always going to be law enforcement. But a lot of lower level stuff may be farmed out to them exclusively. Not necessarily domestic disputes, but we have kids in crisis and things like this that may not need a cop. We'll be able to send them. But I think that their biggest value is in follow-up. So one of the things that they're going to be aiming to do is that, did something just moved on my screen? Are we good? Oh,
We're good.
all right. I think someone popped off. I think their biggest value is that after the fact, they're going to be doing follow-up. So where we have perhaps a domestic dispute and there's a victim in that case that could use some support, or a family member in crisis, they're going to be knocking on doors following days. Where we have people with substance use disorders, they're going to be following up with them after the fact, after we have different types of things. And having an entity that's not specifically law enforcement, I think really benefits in doing some of those things. But truthfully, it's going to be an evolutionary process. I think they're going to come in here with a concept. They're going to be going on calls. They're going to be embedded in our department. This week, what they're going to start doing is sitting in the dispatch area and listening to the types of calls that are coming in, get familiar with that. These are folks that really are going to need as much education about what we do as we do about what they do. So, lots of people have lots of ideas on paper on what it's going to look like. I think that it's going to be a really fluid concept for a while, but overall should provide a really tremendous resource to the community.
Excellent. That's very good to hear. And I think that
Their expectation is to be very versatile. So everything from homeless outreach to substance use disorder to domestic problems to kids in crisis, we hope to use them for everything.
Okay, wonderful. So do any of my board colleagues have any other questions for the chief? No? All right. Well, in that case, I thank you very much for your time and all the good work that you and your department are doing every day. And certainly with the ebbs and flows of our COVID pandemic, it makes for a challenge on top of an otherwise already challenging job. So thankfully, we believe we have a really supportive community, and we're grateful for your efforts to be proactive and positive and support that supportive community. So thanks so much, Chief.
Appreciate that. All right, night, everybody.
Bye. All right, so next up, we have a departmental report from our town assessor, Fernando Gonzalez. We're heading with change of assessment notices to people's mailboxes next week, kicking off a busy couple of weeks in the assessor's office. And I'm hoping that Fernando's going to take us through that. You're up, Fernando. Thank you and welcome. And you're muted. Still muted. Waiting. Okay, now you're not muted.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can.
Once again, we get ready to send the change of assessment notices. This would be the 7th year that we are maintaining the roll at 100% of market value. So for the 2022 roll, the valuation date is July 1st of 2021, which means that we analyze sales up to that point. And looking back the previous year in order to gather data and make adjustments based on those sales by neighborhood, by doing sales ratio analysis. This year, as you know, the real estate market in Westchester County and throughout the state and the nation have been very active, with more demand than available homes for sale. So the real estate values have increased tremendously. On average, in the town of Austin, in residential values have increased 11%. That means some neighborhoods increased a little bit more than that and some less. Particularly the lower valued and most affordable neighborhoods in the village of Austin, in those are the ones that will see the largest increases. As required by law, we need to send a change of assessment notice to property owners whose assessment was changed, whether it's an increase or a decrease. This year, most of the changes are increases. There are very few properties that did not get any change, and there are some properties that got reductions. The first part of the change of assessment notice, which is the letter, can I share a document?
Yes, sure. Sorry,
Victoria.
Fernando. Which one would you
Yeah.
like me to share?
The notice, the
notice?
letter side of the notice?
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, let's see what we're looking at. So the mailing will have a change of assessment notice with a letter on one side explaining the process and what we're doing. It's particularly important to note that the letter states the date for grievance night or grievance day, which is June 21st, 2022. This year, as we have done in the last 2 years since the pandemic, we will continue to accept grievances through email. In the past, grievances had to be brought to town hall, and that was the only way that it could be submitted. But since the pandemic, we've been accepting grievances via email, and also that makes it easier for us because then we get them electronically and we do not have to scan them and turn them into electronic documents. So as the letter states, these changes are not only due to value changes because of market shift, but also physical changes due to changes in property inventory data, basically building permits, additions or deletions, and any other change in inventory that we were able to capture because of sales or voluntary information provided to us. So this part of the letter again states the date that grievance day will be, and also provides a link to the Town of Austin website where the grievance form and instructions are available. The other side of the letter is the official change of assessment notice, which basically has the property address and the parcel ID, and then it provides the owner the actual change, what the 2021 assessment was, and what the tentative 2022 assessment will be, and what the assessment change is. As you can see on this example, the change is a reduction of 14,000.
So are you just showing this one like for the hopeful?
Yes. There will be very few reduction, but there are some, of course, not only because of changes in market conditions, which I will get to when I show you the neighborhood adjustments. So basically, again, this is the required change of assessment noted by New York State real property tax law. And again, reminds the property owner that have the right to appeal and file a grievance seeking administrative review of their assessment.
But just, Fernando, just to point out, like everybody, if everybody in the whole town, if everybody's assessment went up 10%, for example, right? Everybody's, which isn't the case, but if it did, and nothing else changed, your taxes wouldn't increase.
That is correct. So basically, if everybody's assessment went up by the same percentage, then everybody pretty much maintain their share of the burden of the levy.
Right.
Of course, some went up less, some some went down. So basically, if you're changing in assessment is 11% or less, you should not see an increase in taxes, provided, of course, that the budget amounts remain the same by the taxing jurisdictions.
Right. And so, for example, the school district had a 0.1% tax rate decrease in Austin School District. So I know it's different in Briarcliff, but you know, I think we had like an under 1% increase. I mean, so if everybody had, you know, basically no tax rate increase, and again, your assessment went up a certain percentage, but through that average, then it, you know, you may not be looking at any large increase just because your assessment went up. Just to be clear, right?
Yeah, remember that this basically our assessment role mirrors market values. And of course, everyone is pretty much aware of what the market value in the neighborhood is. They see what their neighbor's house sold for, and it's pretty much we utilize the sales in the market in order to apply these values to the entire population.
I think it was 0.5%, not 0.1%. So just to be clear. Okay. At the school, Austin School District reduction. Okay.
So we make the changes based on neighborhoods, and these neighborhoods were established when we did the reassessment in 2016. Basically, a neighborhood is an area of properties with similar market attributes. So, for example, Indian Village, which is one of the neighborhoods which we're all very familiar with, which is neighborhood 6 in the village of Ossining. That neighborhood is comprised of pretty much Cape Cods and ranches built in the same era, 1950s, and that is one neighborhood. As you can see in the change of assessment notices, it's divided by municipality: Village of Ossining, Village of Briarcliff Manor, and Town Outside Village. Be aware that some of the neighborhoods span both municipalities. So, for example, neighborhood 1, Southside Sparta, is also in the town outside. Again, is basically properties with similar market attributes, and whose value would change based of course, with the same, in the same manner. So for the 2022 roll, as I indicated, some neighborhoods got 0 increases, some got more than the 11%. For example, the South Side, neighborhood 1, is going to have a 14% increase. If you look at Village of Ossining, neighborhood 1 over to the 2022, the factor is 1.14, so that's a 14% increase in assessed value. Neighborhood 10, for example, in the Village, is going to see a 10% increase. If you look at the neighborhoods in the Village of Briarcliff Manor, which is the pink area, you will see that some of the neighborhoods there were, for example, the estate area, which is the the estate area in Briarcliff Manor, that neighborhood is only getting a 9% increase because higher price properties did not increase at the same rate as lower price property. As you know, there is a shortage of affordable homes, and most of the affordable homes in the town of Ossining are in the Village of Ossining. So the neighborhoods in the Village, like the South Side Sparta area, is going to see a 14%. The Cedar Lane, Piping Road, Croton Avenue is going to see a 13% increase. So on average, again, it's 11%. As we go down to the condominiums, which each condominium complex has a neighborhood, condominiums are valued based on the income approach as commercial properties, and they basically, their value increases and increases at the same rate as apartment building. So you will see that many of the condominium complexes are going to see an increase anywhere from 4 to 8%, which is in line with the apartment complex in commercial properties. The properties that will see a decrease are commercial properties, for the most part, office properties, who are still suffering from high vacancies and lack of demand, and also some of the retail properties, again, rental losses and high vacancies. Again, the apartment buildings and some of the small mixed use in the Village, where they have retail or office, but mostly apartments, those will see an increase anywhere from 4 to 6%. These change of assessment notices are in the printer right now. They will be mailed on Friday, and by shortly after the holiday, by Monday, some people may get them on Saturday, but by Tuesday after the holiday, I'm sure most people will have them. And again, the idea here is that they have ample time to file agreements by June 21st. Also, next week on June 1st, we will finalize all the inputs in the system when it comes to exemptions and value changes, and we will I don't want to use the word finalize, but basically file the tentative roll on June 1st, which will be published on our website, and it will also be uploaded to the state offices for their review. Speaking of the state, be aware that all of this analysis is done in conjunction with the New York State Office of Real Property Taxes. We compare analysis and the results of our mass appraisal programs in order to make sure that we continue to maintain the roll at 100%. So what we have done, this adjustment, the state has looked at them, and we are confident that we will get certified for 100% once we get the final roll in September. Any questions?
I'll open it up to my board colleagues. You have questions, anybody? Fernando, you got have one of the toughest jobs. We know it's subtly tough, but we know this is a tough time when people get those notices and don't necessarily always understand what they mean and automatically assume that their taxes are going up the amount that the assessment is. And that's not
Yeah.
the case, as we kind of explained, but doesn't mean that they're not going up at all. As Fernando indicated, if budgets go up and the tax rate goes up based on those budgets, then you're going to see some sort of increase one way or the other, no matter what your assessment. So depending again on where you live, if you do have any questions or you think something's out of line, that's what the assessor's office is there for, and then the rest of the process. So hopefully people take note and follow up with a phone call first or an email, and then continue down the route. And we thank
Yeah.
you for the one, keeping the role to 100% so that we have transparency in the role. I think that's critically important, something that was done, I don't know, how many years did you say, 6 or 7 years ago? And
Yeah, 7 years. This will be the 7th year.
right, 7 years. And I think that it really does make a difference to keep the role at 100% because people can actually see, go on Zillow and see whatever the property of the value of their property is. And it actually, it's not like some crazy formula that you have to figure out to get from what's on the paper that you get when you get your taxes and to, what you actually see in the market. So that transparency really does help people to understand better what the value of their homes and their properties are.
Yeah, let me point out that the advantage of being at 100% on communities like us, Greenberg, North Salem, and by the way, those municipalities have also seen similar increases, 10-11% increases in residential on average. And if you look at the list that the state puts on their website for Westchester County, you will see that most municipalities, not only in Westchester, but in the Hudson Valley, are seeing these huge increases in residential values. But the advantage of being at 100% versus at a percentage of value as we were back in 2016, when we were at 5.6% of market value, is that we are able to decrease or increase values every year based on market. And as you know, not all communities, not all neighborhoods go up or down at the same rate. Also, for example, this year, commercial properties, office and retail have really, those owners are hurting. Office buildings are still experiencing very high vacancies with market rents going down. The same with retail. Retail suffer not only from high vacancy, but from many tenants who basically haven't paid them much since the pandemic started. So we didn't increase those properties. Had we increased those properties like they do in a community that doesn't do 100% assessment every year, then those properties would have been overassessed, and of course they need to appeal. They need to file a certiorari. So what happens here, of course, we've seen a decline in the number of cases, and not only that, but we also have experienced a decline in the amounts of refunds that the school district particularly has to do whenever we settle any one of these cases. We haven't had, aside from Trump, and basically that was the last big case where we had big payouts because it was a golf property and it was accumulated over 6-7 years.
Don't
But
rub it in.
basically, if I'm sorry.
I said, don't rub it in. None of us are happy about that. So don't rub it in. Don't remind us. Yes.
But if you see the amount of refunds that have been paid since the reassessment as compared to prior to the assessment, the difference is huge.
Yeah. One of the things I think could be helpful for us for unincorporated town properties is to have a better understanding of that vacancy rate as we're looking at our zoning as it relates to the comp plan, to think about adaptive reuse and where we might want to tweak our zoning to allow for that. I think that that could be helpful to us, Fernando. So maybe you can get us some of those statistics so that we have a better sense of that as we're moving into the next phase of planning for the town.
Yeah, well, of course, the vacancy rates relate to the demand, and as you know, in all of Westchester, office space there is an excessive amount of office space.
Absolutely.
In many communities down in the southern part of the county, they are turning large office buildings into residential complexes.
Absolutely. Yes, that's what I'm
So,
talking about.
maybe that's why we need to look in those areas where we have the
Yeah.
largest amount of office buildings to
Yeah.
allow for other uses. Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what I mean. Yep, for sure. So that is, that would be helpful for us if we could have, that analysis, I think, to give us some guidance, because I don't think that we're going to suddenly see a huge increase in demand for office space. I think if anything, the pandemic has shown us how a lot more people are going to be working remotely, and businesses are going to be able to save money by not having to have as large office spaces anymore going into the future. And I don't think that's something that's going to be changing anytime soon. So I think we have to evaluate what the situation is so that we make it, more feasible for those spaces to not continue to lose value, obviously,
Yeah.
and to serve a purpose instead of just remain vacant. So, okay. Any other questions or comments? Anybody from the town board? Fernando, thank you to you and everybody in your office for all the hard work leading up to now and also in the next month or so. Bless
Thank you
God.
very much, and have a good night, everyone.
You too. All right, and so next up, we have public comment on agenda items only. Is there anybody in the public who would like to make a comment on one of our agenda items? Those are the items that we will be voting on this evening. So if you have any comments, please raise your virtual hand and we'll unmute you. Ms. Jamie Black, also known as Jim Levis. I think we'll unmute you.
I have two questions. One regarding what Fernando shared, and then the other just regarding something in terms of police support in the Crotonville area. Can I speak to those? Were those agenda items or not?
They are not, no.
Huh. Okay, so,
You can certainly speak to them at the end of the meeting though, okay? If you don't
okay,
mind.
fine, thank you.
Thank you. All righty. With that, we will get right into our public meeting. Martha Kudasaka, take it away.
Approval of minutes, regular meeting, May 10th, 2022. Result of the town board of the town of Austin hereby approves the May 10th, 2022 minutes of the regular meeting as presented.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mhm.
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Approval of minutes, special meeting, May 17th, 2022. Result of the town board of the town of Austin hereby approves the May 17th, 2022 minutes of the special meeting as presented.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Next time we're just gonna pick tonight, you're the second. Okay. Thank you.
I'm just trying to be fair, so we can.
You're doing a great job.
Approval of voucher detail report. Result of the town board of the town of Austin hereby approves the voucher detail report dated May 24th, 2022 in the amount of $1,517,125.48.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
So we have an abnormally high voucher detail report this week, as the Village of Austin always bills us for the first 5 months of police services with the May IMA bill. By May, we have completed town and county tax collection, so we have enough money in the bank to write that fairly large check. Any questions or further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed?
Do I read the entire resolution, Christie? The next one?
Yeah, I believe these are subjects of permissive referendum, so I think we should read the entire resolution and do a roll call vote for each one.
Sure. Okay. A
Okay.
resolution authorizing ball field fencing at Ryder Park in and for the town of Austin in Westchester County, New York, at a maximum estimated cost of $420,000 and authorizing, subject to permissive referendum, the issuance of $420,000 serial bonds of said town to pay the cost thereof. Be it resolved by the affirmative vote of not less than 2/3 of the total voting strength of the town board of the town of Austin, Westchester County, New York, as follows. Section 1, ball field fencing at Ryder Park in and for the town of Austin, Westchester County, New York, is hereby authorized, subject to permissive referendum, at a maximum estimated cost of $420,000. Section 2, the plan for the financing of aforesaid maximum estimated cost is by the issuance of $420,000 serial bonds of said town, hereby authorized to issue therefore pursuant to the provisions of the local finance law. Section 3, it is hereby determined that the period of probable usefulness of aforesaid specific object or purpose is 15 years pursuant to subdivision 19C of the paragraph A of section 11 of the local finance law. It is hereby further determined that the maximum maturity of the bonds hereby authorized will exceed 5 years. Section 4, the faith and credit of said town of Austin, Westchester County, New York, are hereby irrevocably pledged for the payment of the principal of and interest of such bonds at the same respectively become due and payable. An annual appropriation shall be made in each year sufficient to pay the principal of and interest of such bonds becoming due and payable in such year. To the extent not paid from other sources, there shall annually be levied on all the taxable real property of said town a tax sufficient to pay the principal and interest of such bonds as the same become due and payable. Section 5, subject to the provisions of the local finance law, the power to authorize the issuance of and to sell bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance and sale of the serial bonds herein authorized, including renewals of such notes, is hereby delegated to the supervisor, the chief fiscal officer. Such notes shall be of such terms, form, and content, and shall be sold in such manner and may be prescribed by said supervisor consistent with the provisions of the local finance law. Section 6, all other matters except as provided herein relating to the serial bonds herein authorized, including the date, dominations, maturities, and interest payment dates, with the limitations prescribed herein and the manner of execution of the same, including the consolidation with other issues, and also the ability to issue serial bonds will substantially level or decline annual debt service, shall be determined by the supervisor, the chief fiscal officer of such town. Such bond shall contain substantially the recital of validity clause provided for in section 52 of the local finance law, and shall otherwise be in such form and contain such recitals in addition to those required by section 51 of the local finance law, as the supervisor should determine consistent with the provisions of the local finance law. Section 7, the validity of such bonds and bond anticipation notes may be contested only if 1, such obligations are authorized for an object or purpose for which this town is not authorized to expend money, or 2, the provisions of law which shall be compiled with at the date of publication of this resolution are not substantially compiled with, and an action suit or proceeding contesting such validity is commenced within 20 days after the date of such publication, or 3, such obligations are authorized in violations of the provisions of the Constitution. Section 8, the resolution shall constitute a statement of official intent for the purposes of Treasury Regulations, Section 1.150-2, other than as specified in this resolution. No monies are or are responsibly expected to be reserved, allocated on a long-term basis, or otherwise set aside with respect on the permanent funding of the object or purpose described in herein. Section 9, upon this resolution taking effect, the same shall be published in summary form in the official newspaper of said town for such purpose, together with the notice of the town clerk and substantially the form provided in section 81 of the local finance law. This resolution is subject to permissive referendum.
Good job.
Sorry, I said thank you for that. I had muted because I knew it was very long. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So this is a very important capital project we've been planning for many years, as the deteriorated fencing at Ryder ball fields creates safety concerns for park goers. As recently as last week, we heard that there were 3 games, balls were flying, people were concerned, and or, cars getting hit, people getting hit. We don't know exactly what. We understand this is a big ticket item, which is why we're bonding for it, so we can spread the cost over several town budgets. I consider this part of our infrastructure, our parks infrastructure. So it's important that we upkeep it. And it's, you know, we have so many games there, so many people, so many kids and families playing. So any questions or discussion? I mean, I don't know, Angela, you probably know when those fences were built originally.
Oh, yeah, no, this is gonna be a great addition to the park. I mean, just the safety aspects that it brings along and protecting property for all our visitors that come to the games. So I think it's long overdue, and I'm glad to see it come to fruition.
All those in favor? We're gonna
Aye.
roll call, right? Roll call. Sorry.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay.
Councilwoman Twill, did you have something?
Roll call.
No,
Okay.
I was voting.
Okay, sorry. Roll call vote. Go ahead.
Okay, Councilmember Feldman,
Aye.
Councilmember Meyer,
Is he there in name only? He may
Aye.
be- Okay.
okay, Councilmember Manicchio,
Aye,
and Councilmember Fields Twill,
Aye.
and Supervisor Lovenberg.
Martha, do you want me to do the next one?
Sure.
Resolution authorizing the purchase of trucks, including attachments in and for the town of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, at a maximum estimated cost of $1,010,000 and authorizing, subject to permissive referendum, the issuance of $1,010,000 serial bonds of said town to pay the cost thereof. Be it resolved by the affirmative vote of not less than 2/3 of the total voting strength of the town board of the town of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, as follows. Section 1, the purchase of trucks, including attachments in and for the town of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, is hereby authorized, subject to permissive referendum, at a maximum estimated cost of $1,010,000. Section 2, the plan for the financing of the aforesaid maximum estimated cost is by the issuance of $1,010,000 in serial bonds of the town, hereby authorized to be issued therefore pursuant to the provisions of the local finance law. Section 3, it is hereby determined that the period of probable usefulness of the aforesaid class of objects or purposes is 15 years pursuant to subdivision 28 of paragraph A of section 11.00 of local finance law. It is hereby further determined that the maximum maturity of the bonds herein authorized will exceed 5 years. Section 4, the faith and credit of said town of Ossining, Westchester County, New York are hereby irrevocably pledged for the payment of the principal of and interest on the bonds, on such bonds, as the same respectively become due and payable. An annual appropriation shall be made in each year sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on such bonds becoming due and payable in such year. To the extent and not paid from other sources, there shall annually be levied on all the taxable real property of the said town a tax sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on such bonds as the same become due and payable. Section 5, subject to the provisions of the local finance law, the power to authorize the issuance of and to sell bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance and sale of the serial bonds herein authorized, including renewals of such notes, is hereby delegated to the supervisor, the chief fiscal officer. Such notes shall be of such terms, form, and content, and shall be sold in such manner as may be prescribed by said supervisor, consistent with the provisions of the local finance law. Section 6, all other matters except as provided herein related to the serial bonds herein authorized, including the dates, nominations, maturities, and interest payment dates within the limitations prescribed herein and the manner of execution of the same, including the consolidation with other issues, and also the ability to issue serial bonds with substantially level or declining annual debt service shall be determined by the supervisor, the chief fiscal officer of the town. Such bonds shall contain substantially the recital of validity clause provided for in section 52.00 of the local finance law and shall otherwise be in such form and contain such recitals in addition to those required by section 51.00 of the local finance law, as the supervisor shall determine consistent with the provisions of the local finance law. Section 7, the validity of such bonds and bond anticipation notes may be contested only if 1, such obligations are authorized for an object or purpose for which said town is not authorized to expend money, or 2, the provisions of law which should be complied with at the date of publication of this resolution are not substantially complied with, and an action suit or proceeding contesting such validity is commenced within 20 days after the date of such publication, or 3, such obligations are authorized in violation of the provisions of the Constitution. Section 8, this resolution shall constitute a statement of official interest for purpose of Treasury Regulation, section 1.150-2. Other than as specified in this resolution, no monies are or are reasonably expected to be reserved, allocated on a long-term basis, or otherwise set aside with respect to the permanent funding of the object or purpose described herein. Section 9, upon this resolution taking effect, the same shall be published in summary form in the official newspaper of said town for such purpose, together with the notice of the town clerk in substantially the form provided in section 81.00 of the local finance law. Section 10, this resolution is adopted subject to permissive referendum.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
And a
Second.
And we're gonna have another roll call vote.
Okay, Councilmember Feldman?
Aye.
Councilmember Meyer?
Aye.
Councilmember Manikio?
Aye.
And Councilmember Fields Tooell?
Aye.
And Supervisor Levenberg?
And I forgot to also say that this is another bond resolution for trucks for our Highway and Parks Department. And unfortunately, there really was no electric option yet for trucks that also can plow snow, which all of our trucks of this nature are required to do. Hopefully, by the next time the town has to purchase these trucks, there will be some viable alternatives. And with that, I vote aye.
Okay. Finance capital project number 2022-5235, 2022 Freightliner Packer Truck Highway. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin authorizes opening a 2022 capital project number 2022-5235 entitled 2022 Freightliner Packer Truck for the town highway department with a project budget of $200,000. The project will be funded from issuance of serial bonds.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So the next few resolutions are the corresponding capital project resolutions for the pieces of equipment and capital improvements that we're bonding for, plus the purchase of a new leaf vacuum machine, utility vehicle for the cemetery, and excavator for the Parks Department. We discussed all of these projects in more detail at our work session last week. Did I ask for a motion already? Do I have a motion?
Yes, you got motion.
All right, we're on to the vote. Okay. Right, this is just a regular vote, Christy. We're good to just regular. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody
Aye.
opposed? Okay.
Finance capital project number 2022-5236-2022-2 Freightliner dump with Plows Highway. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin authorizes opening a 2022 capital project number 2022-5236 entitled 2022 Freightliner dumps with plows for the town highway department with a project budget of $600,000. The project will be funded from issuance of serial bonds.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
With regret that it's not electric, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Okay. Finance capital project number 2022-5237, 2022 dump truck with equipment parks. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin authorizes opening a 2022 capital project number 2022-5237 entitled 2022 dump truck with equipment for the town parks department with a project budget of $210,000 for the truck, plow, and spreader. The project will be funded from the insurance of serial bonds.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay. Finance capital project number 2022-5238, 2022 ball field fencing parks. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin authorizes opening a 2022 capital project number 2022-5238 entitled 2022 ball field fencing for the town parks department with a project budget of $420,000. The project will be funded from issuance of serial bonds.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Finance capital project 2022-5239, 2022 leaf vacuum machine highway. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin authorizes opening a 2022 capital project number 2022-5239 entitled 2022 leaf vacuum machine for the town highway department with a project budget of $73,000. The project will be funded from a transfer from highway fund balance.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Finance Capital Project Number 2022-5240, 2022 Bobcat Utility Vehicle Cemetery. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Austin authorizes opening a 2022 capital project number 2022-5240 entitled 2022 Bobcat Utility Vehicle for the Town Cemetery Department, the project budget of $20,000. The project will be funded from a transfer from cemetery fund balance.
Motion,
So moved.
Second,
all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Finance Capital Project Number 2022-5241, 2022 Excavator Parks. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Austin authorizes opening a 2022 capital project number 2022-5241 entitled 2022 Excavator for the Town Parks Department with a project budget of $84,000. The project will be funded from a transfer from general fund balance.
Motion,
So moved.
Second.
all those in favor?
aye.
Anybody opposed?
2022 Cabaret License to Briarcliff Manor, whereas the Briarcliff Manor Restaurant Catering Corp., 25 Studio Hill Road, Briarcliff Manor, the applicant has filed an application for the cabaret license for the calendar year 2022. And whereas the Town Board has reviewed the 2022 application, attachments thereto, and a solicited input from involved departments, including the Police Department and the Building Department, both of which recommended granting the application. And whereas the Town Board held a duly noticed public hearing at its regular meeting on Tuesday, May 10th, 2022 via video conferencing in accordance with Chapter 1 of the laws of 2022 and the Governor's Executive Order 11 as subsequently extended, and members of the public having the opportunity to speak on the application, the public hearing was closed on May 10th, 2022. And now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Austin hereby approves the application of the Briarcliff Manor Restaurant and Catering Corp., 25 Studio Hill Road to Briarcliff Manor in the unincorporated area of the Town of Austin for a cabaret license for the calendar year 2022, subject to the following conditions. The music played on site will consist only of a band or DJ with a maximum of 6 performers. Amplified music should only be allowed during the hours permitted by Town Code Statute 68-20. Music of any kind shall not be permitted outdoors. And the applicant shall continue to implement the following noise mitigation measures. A, maintain a sound barrier fence. B, keep the doors closed. And C, use sound meters when entertaining vendors are present and music is playing. Be it further resolved, the conditions of this cabaret license are only for the 2022 calendar year, and the Town Board reserves the right to modify, add to, and or eliminate any and all conditions when considering the applicant's application for a cabaret license renewal for the 2023 calendar year in accordance with Chapter 68 of the Town Code.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Okay, so after last week's public hearing, we are hoping to adopt the 2022 renewal of the Briarcliff Manor Cabaret license. Council Don, do you have anything to add before I ask for any other comments?
I mean, if the board has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I know one question or one thing that may be of interest to the board is what the hours of operation permitted by Town Code Section 6820 are. And they are 12 p.m. to 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday and 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. Friday and Saturday. So those are the hours during which they can have amplified music indoors, not outdoors.
And they have to keep their doors closed.
Yes, and just to be clear, those mitigation measures are self-imposed by the applicant. That was included in their application.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Councilwoman Fields too.
Yeah, I just have a question. One of those mitigation factors says they're going to measure sound. And I'm curious if they've had to explain how they're going to be doing that. Like, do they have
It says
a?
use sound meters.
Okay, but I guess what I'm saying is, does the Briarcliff Manor, that's a device that they have purchased, or that they're going to be asking the town to purchase? Like, how does that work?
I have to believe they have purchased them. No, we're not purchasing them. We're not purchasing sound meters for them.
It's a self-imposed requirement they put on themselves as part of the application. This property has had issues in the past, so they haven't been recently, and as far as I'm aware, but there have been situations in the past where they have been asked to do sound monitoring to make sure that they're not exceeding what's permitted by the noise code, which is based upon the decibel rating at the property line. So this isn't the first time that this would have been something for them to ask for, but absolutely under no circumstances would it be the town's responsibility to purchase that for them.
Okay,
All right. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay,
Contract State Transportation Services PY 2022 to 2023. Result that the town board of the town of Austin authorizes the supervisor to sign an agreement with the Chester County Department of Senior Programs and Services for the purposes of receiving funding at an amount not to exceed $3,234 for program year April 1st, 2022 through March 31st, 2023, for the town providing transportation services to seniors in accordance with the New York State Transportation Program.
do I have a motion?
So moved.
second,
Second.
So the next few resolutions approve contracts for grant funding for our senior nutrition program that we received through the Westchester County Department of Senior Programs and Services. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Contract Title 3B Transportation Services Contract PY 2022. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin authorizes the supervisor to sign an agreement with Westchester County Department of Senior Programs and Services for the purposes of receiving funding at an amount not to exceed $9,974 with a required match of $6,931 for program year January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022 for the town providing nutrition, site transportation, and supportive services transportation to seniors.
Motion?
So moved. One of you.
I did too many. Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Anybody opposed?
Okay, Contract Title 3C/NSIP Nutrition Services Contract PY 2022. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin authorizes the supervisor to sign an agreement with Westchester County Department of Senior Programs and Services for the purposes of receiving the following funding under the 3-C1, 3-C2 and Nutrition Services Incentive Program NSIP for program years January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022 for the 3C programs in October 1st, 2021 through September 22nd for NSIP programs for the town to provide nutrition services to seniors.
Motion?
So moved.
Come on. One of you.
Maybe Greg will get it.
second,
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Okay. Contract New York State Research and Development Authority grant. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin authorizes the supervisor to sign an agreement with the New York State Research and Development Authority, NYSERDA, for the purposes of receiving $250,000 in grant funding for participating in a third-party support in advancing code compliance technology pilot program, subject to approval by council to the town as to form.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
second,
So this was a late addition to our agenda and we received this grant contract late yesterday. We are so excited to hear that we have been awarded $250,000 in grant funding from NYSERDA to participate in the third-party support and advancing code compliance technology pilot program. So we wanted to get this contract signed ASAP so we can get started. And a big shout out to Victoria Caffarelli, who continues to be our grants guru, even though we also have a grants company alongside that we work with, and they're very, very helpful also. So shout out to all of you guys for working so hard and getting this this very quickly. I do think, was this related to us adopting New York Stretch? I can't remember, Victoria.
No, it wasn't particularly, but.
We heard about it, we applied for it, we got it, and we're happy because it's going to help us. It's going to help us with our transparency program that we want to introduce and make it easier for people to submit applications electronically through the building department, correct?
Yep.
All right, fantastic.
Perfect.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? With that, I believe we have visitor recognition. And now I shall once again open up the microphone. Well, I'll ask Victoria to do so for Jamie Black. Please just state your name and where you are living.
Hi, Jamie Black, 35 Quaker Bridge Road. Good evening, everyone. And just want to share our continued thanks for all of your support in trying to mitigate the noise coming from the Croton Harmon Yard. It is greatly appreciated and desperately needed, especially when we use the term mental health. It really is the key and cornerstone to our future sanity. Additionally, with the police coverage that we received from the village, we had become accustomed to receiving a monthly police activity report when we had town, and when it got shifted over to county, identifying the types of calls that were receiving attention in the unincorporated area. I was wondering if it'd be possible to be able to sort of reinstate that procedure. Additionally, we really do need to have a procedure for the enforcement of the weight limit that we have established on Quaker Bridge Road, because we did call this past week and we were told that they couldn't pull a car off the road in order to try to address the issue of the road being used for transit to Cortland. So we kind of need to put some procedures in place to address that. And then third, because so few people even understand they live in the unincorporated area, so many people have been very preoccupied, and understandably so, with COVID. I don't think that the community really understands, one, the scope of the accomplishment and having the creation of the new comp plan. And then two, I don't think that the community understands what the opportunities are as well as the responsibilities to successfully implement that. And I received my newsletter from Sandy Galiff the other day, and it just said, one, that the mailbox is still a really important tool for communicating with community. Two, Dana is extremely articulate in communicating information and ideas. And what I was hoping for is that now that the comp plan has been approved, if you could put together a newsletter that would actually be mailed out, letting the community know, one, that they live in the unincorporated area, two, what the comp plan now means to them, three, reinforce and reiterate the commitment to going green in our community, because I think it's very visionary. And three, speak to this concept of re-looking at zoning and what that's going to mean and how we're going to determine, where our school system is and whether or not housing can be, zoning can be generated to allow for more kids in the school system, or is it going to be directed towards high-income seniors who can then move out of their 4-bedroom homes? So I think that the community would really be proud of the accomplishment of the comp plan and supportive of their involvement in the important aspects of it if, one, they knew that it existed, and two, they understood what the opportunity was for participation. Because I think the census illustrates and the comp plan foundation illustrates, in the unincorporated area, we have an incredibly high level of college educated homeowners. And
Jamie, your time is up.
Oh, okay. Well, so much for that. Bye.
Thank you very much for your comments, and we'll certainly take them under consideration. We appreciate
Thanks.
them.
Bye.
Thank you. All right, and I think we are now on to our adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn to executive session for personnel?
So moved.
Come on, you guys. Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, so thank you everybody for joining us this evening. Next week is a 5th Tuesday, which means we will not have a town board meeting. I hope everyone has an enjoyable long weekend. recognizes those who we lost in service to our country for Memorial Day. And we'll see you all in 2 weeks. Have a great night.